What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be breaking down NBC's brand new mock draft 2.0. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all know how to use YouTube at this point. I am in the middle of a move. I just want to make sure that y'all get some fun content to be able to enjoy and digest, because there's so much fun content that's going to be coming around in the next week or two, and it's going to be breaking down my experience at the Senior Bowl, and there was a lot to break down with that. And we're going to be getting some mock drafts in. We're going to be getting a lot of more guests on the show. It is going to be insane. So hop on the hype train early. We just breached 10K. Let's get on to 20K next. That's going to be my next big goal. So let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Hello. Who the hell are you? All right. That does no. All right. No, we do not need to have any more. We don't need nightmares from that. So apologies for potentially having your paralysis demon pop up right in front of you right there. But here's the big kicker. I actually wanted to do a different video today, but I ended up seeing this pop across my timeline, and it's essentially the Patriots trading for Justin Fields. And I thought it'd be cool to dive into the idea of potentially the Patriots acquiring a quarterback not with their third overall pick and not even with their second round pick. So basically, the Bears received a third for Justin, which I think is a little bit on the lighter side compared to what it actually would garner. You look at previous quarterback trades, and with less successful quarterbacks than Justin, less talented quarterbacks, it's going to be more than pick 68. But that's beside the point. New England ends up acquiring a very talented quarterback, and all they have to do is spend a third round pick. Even if it is multiple thirds, I still think that this is a potentially great idea, because you are able to still be in a good position to get a really big difference maker, and you still get to revolutionize your quarterback position. So I'm intrigued by the idea for sure, and Justin then gets to go to the AFC rather than the NFC. But of course, the Bears then select Caleb Williams. I've said this plenty of times. I'll save us all the going into it ad nauseum, but Caleb Williams is the correct move at 1. He's a better prospect. He's a better player. He is maybe he is physically inferior in terms of height, weight, maybe a little bit of arm strength, but playmaking is there. Overall processing significantly better, and he's going to be significantly cheaper as well. It's the right move for the Bears. Commanders then go Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. He's my number 2 quarterback. Big fan of him. I think that I would be intrigued to see what happens. Of course, Washington, I think, is a front runner right now with Cliff Kingsbury to be offensive coordinator. So Cliff has obviously had a lot of experience with mobile quarterbacks. Would love to see Jayden Daniels adding to that repertoire and having that nice experience there. Of course, New England then also trades. So hello, this is going to be a trade-heavy mock draft. And, it is, to be fair, NBC Sports Boston. But that is okay. But New England ends up trading with Atlanta, and I think this is a very smart move for both the Patriots and the Falcons if the Patriots are more set on not going after Marvin Harrison Jr. I did hear from a very notable inside source there at the Senior Bowl that multiple teams have Marvin Harrison Jr. as wide receiver 2 to Malik Neighbors. So, maybe it is a smart move to move back, but we'll see what weapon they get. This is a live reaction, of course. They end up getting an extra first round pick and an extra second round. So essentially they've pretty much gained a ton of draft capital to still get a big playmaker at quarterback. The Atlanta Falcons then select Drake Maye, which I think would be a very smart move. Raheem Morris would be insanely blessed to have a great quarterback like this. Not many other positions that the Falcons are that desperate for. Wide receiver, though, you do essentially have Drake London on roster and then Kyle Pitts, and that's it. Pretty good starting 2, but you need a lot more than that. Cardinals then go after Marvin Harrison Jr., who I still have as my number 1 player, not to mention number 1 receiver in the draft. Just has everything that you'll be looking for. Of course, my board is a holistic board. It does not factor in scheme fit. I think Malik Neighbors actually might be a better prospect for teams if they have more explosiveness in mind rather than an all-around elite receiver, because I do think Malik Neighbors should be a number 1 wide receiver above Marvin on certain boards. At pick number 5, the Chargers go Brock Bowers out of Georgia. I've been talking about this quite a bit. Jim Harbaugh has had essentially great linebackers and tight ends everywhere he's gone, and this is the one place that doesn't have an elite tight end or linebacker at the moment. You could debate all you want about the linebacking core, but the tight end core, we all know, could use a huge upgrade. Brock Bowers would fit exactly what he's looking for. So I do think that's a great pick. New York Giants then select Malik Neighbors out of LSU. I mean, I've talked about this a billion times at this point. He's a great wide receiver, has some unbelievable explosiveness. The Giants have been looking for someone who could be that type of catalyst in that offense, and Malik Neighbors certainly could be. Tennessee Titans then go Joe Alt, tackle out of Notre Dame. He's the best tackle in the class. Him and Tully, I mean, they're both phenomenal players. Even Olu, like, you can't go wrong. Joe Alt compliments Peter Skronsky to a T. I think it's an excellent move. At pick number 8, though, the New England Patriots go Rome Odunze. So essentially, you get an extra second and first to get Rome Odunze instead of Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not as high on Rome Odunze as necessarily the next person, so I don't think that the value is worth it. But a lot of people love Rome Odunze. The NFL loves Rome Odunze, and he's a great wide receiver. He still will definitely be a big upgrade. Pick 9, the Bears go Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. He's the best edge rusher in the class. So, it's pretty solid logic to have a team that should be looking for one more edge rusher to be targeting one here at pick number 9. At pick 10, the Jets go Tali Fuaga. He's one of the guys who I actually got to meet at the Senior Bowl, got to talk to him a couple times. Great dude. I'm not one of those reporters that sticks a camera on dudes' faces, so sorry, I'm not going to have an interview for you. But basically, he actually played with one of my former high school classmates, and it was kind of cool just having one of those moments with him where we talked. But he might be coming on the show. I have his number. Just got to put that out there. So, Tali Fuaga, great pick, though, for the Jets. He's even brought up the idea that he can play left tackle as well. Very excited to see what will happen there. Vikings then go Jared Verse. That whole entire D-line needs help, losing both of your top edge rushers, including, I think, DJ Wonham's up for a contract, too. So, pretty much your top 3. Big oof. And so, getting Jared Verse is great value with a great position, with great wins above replacement. Broncos then also continued the edge train here with Laiatu Latu, edge out of UCLA. He's a phenomenal prospect, had a very solid Senior Bowl week, didn't practice at the end because he already had enough hype. Great player, though. Medicals just are the big question at the moment. He is a top 30 player on my board. Pick 13, the Las Vegas Raiders go Olu Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. I think this is a perfectly solid selection, very logical, very high upside. It's a team that has a bit of room in terms of development, and I'd be a big fan of what AP somehow finds with Olu Fashanu there in his offense. So intrigued to see what happens there. Pick 14, the Saints go JC Latham. They need a help at left tackle, and you're down to the last right tackles. I think that personally, the Raiders did the right thing by essentially taking a swing on a left tackle and moving him to right just because he's the best tackle on the board. Saints are doing essentially the same thing here. I like Amarius Mims more, but J.C. Latham is still incredible. Pick 15, the Indianapolis Colts go Brian Thomas Jr. He's a bit early for me. I think he's a very solid number 2. If you end up keeping Michael Pittman Jr., then I might be a little bit more open to it. But, Brian Thomas, he doesn't have the versatility to be a true wide receiver 1 at the moment. I think he could develop into one. Good player, but a bit early for me. Seahawks then trade to the New England Patriots. So they essentially totally ruined all of their draft capital to move back and get Justin Fields, Tyler Guyton, as well as Rome Odunze. Tyler Guyton's a little too raw. He had a very solid Senior Bowl week, but he still had his ups and downs. Darius Robinson had his feast on him, and, as he did everybody else. I think Tyler Guyton's a great player. He's very fun to watch up close, but he's not worth sending, the very limited draft capital that you do have to move up and get. Still a great player, but, when you got Amarius Mims on the board, that's where I'd go. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars here at 17. He did a very, very good job in Mobile, and I don't really know if I would say acceleration was what wowed people at all. I think it was pretty much the physicality. He's in off coverage a lot, so this is the first time to really get to see him against good talent, being up close and personal, and he did a very good job. My only issue with Quinion is that there's a particular rep where you guys have seen it. Roman Wilson absolutely mosses a ball that was poorly thrown, but, Quinion ended up stumbling, and he had a bad rep, but, it was more of a stumble than just a poor rep. He looked really defeated, just like head down, poor body language. Not a fan of when my corners do that. I want him to have the energy to bounce back, but that doesn't really mean that much. It's just a small nitpick. He's been a great player and did a great job there in Mobile. Jacksonville definitely could use an asset like that. Cincinnati Bengals then select Marius Mims. Right tackle is a big upgrade position. Love Marius Mims. It all works out. 19, the Rams select Cooper DeJean. He is super duper versatile. I would love to see how Sean McVay utilizes him. Without Raheem Morris, I'm a little bit less excited about his role, but Cooper DeJean's still a phenomenal player. And, apart from that leg fracture in November, has been absolutely lights out. 20, Pittsburgh Steelers select J.J. McCarthy. I'm just not a fan of taking J.J. to the pit, personally. I was actually got to talk to Mike Tomlin myself, and he, I didn't ask him any questions about the draft because I'm not going to be one of those dudes. But, watching him analyze the quarterbacks, he really was honing in on the latter part of the day. I think that was the national team's quarterback. So Spencer Rattler, Michael Pratt. Who else was it? Oh, Joe Milton. So it looked like he was actually looking the most at Pratt and Milton. But, I obviously wasn't staring at him the whole time. I just was starstruck being able to see Mike. And then, for some reason, I just became Superman and walked up to him in the middle of the field. That's cool. But J.J. McCarthy, not the type of guy who I'd go after. Just talked about Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson. Both of those guys look like absolute super weapons. And JJ didn't really make them look like super weapons at all. Not saying that he's a bad talent, but I'm saying that you at least should have seen some legitimate sparks in that offense that, you could end up pointing your finger at the OC all you want or the offensive system. But, quarterbacks can supersede offensive systems quite often if they're that good. I think that with the quarterbacks like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and of course you got JJ, Joe Milton, there's just better options and better value if you'd want to pass on one at pick 20. So that's where I'm at right there. Dolphins then go Troy Fautanu. Kind of pissed that he didn't end up playing, but he's a phenomenal player. He actually can play left tackle too, which is a big plus. Just a great player overall, will be a massive impact day one. Pick 22, Philadelphia Eagles go Nate Wiggins. They need to upgrade at corner. He's a phenomenal player, great speed, great field awareness, great build apart from just a little bit on the skinnier side, but I think he has room to grow. The thing is he has great football IQ, and that's going to be a massive addition for the Eagles as they get rid of all the old gunk from the older group of dudes. Pick 23, we got the Houston Texans going Terrion Arnold. He's my corner one, so obviously I'm a big fan of that. I think he's a better fit for the Eagles because he plays also a lot of slot, so I think that his versatility would be a little bit more valuable, but regardless, the Texans need a true corner too for the future, and Terrion Arnold would be a great compliment to Derek Stingley. Big fan of that. Pick 24, the Cowboys go Jordan Morgan. He ended up not doing too good of a job at the Senior Bowl. Actually, there's pretty much no hype on Jordan Morgan. Ended up coming in with short arms as well. Very well might end up being interior offensive line at the next level. If you're really looking for a tackle, just go for Kingsley, but even Kingsley had his struggles there. So Dallas Cowboys going Jordan Morgan almost feels like a bit of a reach at this point. Packers then go Darius Robinson. So very fortunate to randomly start falling in love with Darius Robinson the week before the Senior Bowl. That's just honestly great timing. But, he ended up dropping 10 pounds, ended up being an absolute freak show. I loved his power in his game. He just looked a little athletically limited. And all of a sudden, he loses some weight, maintains his strength, and becomes way more athletic, like I said he should. And he's ending up being an absolute freak show. So good job by Darius Robinson, who has done a phenomenal job over the past week and a half. Pick number 26, Tampa Bay Buccaneers go Keon Coleman. It's just a replacement for Mike Evans. It's a 1-to-1, 6'4", 215, great build. And, he has very similar aspects in terms of strengths, weaknesses, and growth potential that Mike Evans did coming into the league. At pick 27, Arizona Cardinals select JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, center/guard out of Oregon. JPJ had quite a few reps in there where they were kind of iffy, but he's had probably some of the more dominant offensive line reps in one-on-one, and that's worth building around. So love the fact that you can use him as a center or a guard prospect. The Cardinals, it's a weird position to target early, but it's honestly one that could be a pretty solid one to go after. I'd prefer to go defensive interior, but, this is just a nice departure from the norm. Pick number 28, the Bills go T'Vondre Sweat. So speaking of the guy who I'd probably go for the Cardinals, T'Vondre absolutely ate. He's a freaking beast. Like, I love T'Vondre Sweat. Seeing him in person makes it even more ridiculous. You're like, what in the actual hell? Dude's he's a freak. He's a freak. Great size, great build. A little bit athletically limited in terms of his lateral mobility. Just a vertical, like, if he's coming at you, I'd be scared shitless. And most people are. Pick number 29, the Chiefs go A.D. Mitchell. He's a great receiver. He's made me end up hating other cornerbacks just because he eats them alive. I think that I have him underrated, but for the time being, I'll just still say he's a top 50 player on my board. He's a really good player, and he has a great build to him. I wish he had a little more weight, but he also has a frame that can support more weight. At pick 30, the Lions go Tez Walker at a UNC. He actually had a big issue with drops this past week. Like, everybody was talking about how he was the one to be a little bit unreliable in terms of the catch point. At the same time, Tez did have some unbelievable reps, showing a lot of finesse that you don't get to have from a lot of receivers. He has the intricacies of the game down, and at a wide receiver 1 build at 6'2", 200, that's worth giving some respect to. So Tez Walker, good job. I just think that when it comes to the Detroit Lions, I'm going after a corner or a defensive end or a defensive interior. Wide receiver is a position I think they could try to upgrade, but not at pick 30. Pick 31, the Niners go Kool-Aid McKinstry. Would have been a great pick for the Lions. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's just kind of getting the short end of the stick. Him and Drazon, I don't know what the news is, but maybe they have some poor work ethic, because I saw Kool-Aid take quite a few reps off. Drazon, I don't think it's poor work ethic. I just don't know what the hell's going on. Personally, it's just weird to see him continue slipping in mocks. There's something that's being said. But Kool-Aid McKinstry for the Niners, we'll talk about Drazon in a second, is as good of a pick as San Francisco could ever ask for. I think his head and ass would get wired together, and he'd actually be an elite corner, which pains me to say because I'm not a huge fan of the Niners, but I'm a huge fan of Niners fans, so take it as that. But at pick 32, the Ravens. Why is the Ravens here, by the way? The Ravens are not even in the Super Bowl. Like, my brother in Christ, this was published February 2nd, which is February 3rd. We didn't even mention that part. Technically, we should have the Ravens here with the Chiefs spot, and then the Chiefs up here with the Ravens spot. I don't think it would change the actual picks, but, got to call it out as it is. Ravens ended up selecting Drazon Newton, so they somehow came back, rebeat the KC Chiefs, and ended up winning the Super Bowl. But Drazon Newton does just feel like a Ravens pick. So kind of weird to see him slip in. Great player overall, though. I know Kansas City should be here, but they aren't. I don't know why. It is what it is. But that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and showing the support that y'all always do. See you on the far side.